After 14 seasons, Blue Bloods is drawing to a close, and the cast has some thoughts on how their characters deserve to be sent off. In anticipation of Friday's series finale, Entertainment Weekly asked the actors behind the Reagans and the rest of the Blue Bloods cast to come up with their own alternate endings for their characters. We received a wide array of responses, ranging from silly to sincere, but all of them were 100% generated by the actors themselves. Our only rule: the proposed alternate ending can't be exactly the same as the one that actually occurs in the finale, so I suppose you could call these spoilers by process of elimination. You'll know after reading each response that the characters won't experience these particular fates. Read on to see how the Blue Bloods cast would want to send off each of their characters. Tom Selleck, Frank Reagan. I thought about that. I didn't really have input in where the show was going for a final episode. I think in my alternate ending, the result on the audience would be that Frank Reagan remains a man alone, who never wanted the job he had, that has a hyperactive sense of responsibility, and I think he'd be commissioner till he drops. Donnie Wahlberg, Danny Reagan. I would have Danny Reagan walk right into the next episode of Blue Bloods, and we do another 14 seasons. So there's that. Now that that's out of the way, I would say I would have Danny Reagan walk right into his next chapter of his life, maybe in a different place doing a similar job and perhaps with someone from the current cast. But I want him to not be too far from the family so that he could still see them and spend time with them, but maybe to see what life has in store for him now that his boys have gone off and he's empty nesting and his wife's gone. Maybe he can see what the future holds for him on his own, as long as he can visit the family sometimes. Does that sound like a tease for a spinoff? Len Cariou, Henry Reagan. Frank had promised me that I will get to the Vatican and meet the Pope. My ending would be to fulfill that promise. Vanessa Ray, Eddie Yanko. Blue Bloods, Boca. Eddie and Jamie have had enough of the NYC winters and scratchy uniforms. So they relocate to Boca Raton, Florida, with the family's blessing, of course. It's a 3-hour easy flight home. Where Eddie gets promoted to detective and moonlights performing her one-woman show, you have the tight to Remain Fabulous, a cop cabaret. Marissa Ramirez, Maria Baez. There are so many fun endings that could be played with. Maybe Baez decides she really wants to be a guidance counselor at a school in California, but it ends up being a school of misfits and she needs Danny's help. Or Danny, Baez, Jamie, and Eddie decide to go on an island vacation, but they run into trouble there and decide to stay on the island for a bit. So many ways to spin this series off into the sunset, but still keep it around. Abigail Hawk, Abigail Baker. When Frank finally retires on his terms and timeline, Baker becomes the youngest police commissioner and ushers in an era of trust and unity between police and the communities they serve. She goes on to lead the most diverse department in NYPD history, carrying the wisdom and charisma Frank instilled in her. Gregory Jbara, Garrett Moore. Thanks to his more than 3 decades of philanthropy to the School of Literature, Science, and the Arts as a University of Michigan alumnus, Garrett is gifted a pair of VIP tickets to the OSU game at the Big House. With Sid Gormley as his +1, the two find themselves in each other's arms, squealing and jumping up and down like high school girls as the Wolverines defeat the Buckeyes for the 5th year in a row. Their unfettered exuberance, and perhaps a few too many martinis with anchovy olives, sent them toppling over the alumni box plexiglass rail, falling more than 40 feet into the box seats below. Gormley is pronounced dead at the scene. Having landed atop Sid, and before gasping his last breath, Garrett is quoted as uttering, "Go Blue. Bloods." Robert Classy, Sid Gormley. A psycho shoots at the commissioner. I jump in front of him and take 5 bullets. I save my boss. Erin comes running over and cries out, "SID." Kneels down beside me and tells me she always loved me. I faint and I wake up and I'm at family dinner, serving up real Irish stew. And it suddenly dawns on them all that I'm the only Irish Catholic person born and raised in NYC on the show, and they break the 4th wall and thank me for my service. Will Hockman Joe Hill, off duty, at the bar, and laughing with uncles Danny and Jamie about the wild adventures that they've shared together. Joe feels in his heart that he finally, truly belongs. Then he tilts back a shot, and, full of family support and liquid courage, he marches across the room to introduce himself to the mysterious beauty who's been glancing at him all night. The good news: immediate sparks and electric banter. The trickier news: she lives in California. The shocking news: she came to New York to recruit Joe for a covert assignment out west. She can't tell him too much, and under no circumstances can he ever discuss the assignment. Not even with his family, but it's critical for national security that he accept the mission. What will he do? What is the job exactly? What will he tell the Reagans? And what will happen with her? Joe, finally a full part of the family he's always wanted, has some hard choices to make. Blue Bloods concludes with its series finale on Friday, December 13th, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time / Pacific Time on CBS.